Well, it looks like we're going to be a little bit out of order. I think myself, Mallory Flowers, is going to go first, followed by Scott, and then Amanda, and then Zach, and then Amanda. Just for the record, we had our slightly different order than what was announced. So again, I'm Mallory Flowers. I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And no, I don't have an accent, I don't play the banjo, and I don't walk around barefoot every day, despite what some people might think about our state. The town that I work in, however, is the town of Cordova, Alabama. This is downtown Cordova. It's sort of your ideal small town America, small mom and pop shops everywhere, lots of high school football pride. I first discovered it when I started investigating some incidences regarding strip mining in the area, and when I was there, I was greeted with sweet tea on rocking chairs on porches, and exactly what you would expect in Alabama. Very southern homes, very southern traditions. But not every place in Alabama is like that. We're a lot of times not quite what you would expect. This is where I live, not in the stadium, of course, but in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We have a lot of football pride, and it's kind of our thing. We're also very proud of a lot of other things about our community. We may be a small rural state, but it's a very progressive community within that, simply because the university is there, and we are a very large university. But even though you wouldn't expect that, we weren't even expecting this. On April 26th of 2011, an EF4 tornado ripped across our community, destroying approximately a third of the entire town. If you've never been through a natural disaster, you maybe can't understand what it was like, and if you have, you'll know what I'm saying when I try to describe it to you. There's no electricity, no internet, no communication. You're not entirely sure what's going on. You can't get a moment to yourself because you're trying to figure out, everyone's trying to find food or water. The noise is continuous. The National Guard helicopters, the generators, people crying, whatever the noise is, it's there constantly. And in the meantime, you're sitting in your car using the last of your gas, listening to the radio, waiting as they call out alphabetically the names of the dead, hoping that your family isn't on there. And so that was sort of what we went through and what our community experienced en masse. And as scary as it is, what's scarier to me is that it wasn't unique. The main problem was that in 4 days, over 350 tornadoes ripped across Southeast America. And that is an unprecedented number that we have nothing like anywhere, ever. So people really started questioning what that meant. And for us, it wasn't that bad, but for towns like Cordova, Alabama, it was completely devastating. Cordova was struck very badly, to the point where they really had no plan for recovery. This is Cordova 8 months after the tornado hit, and downtown is still fenced off, with locks on the fences so that nobody can enter because there's no reason to be there. None of the shops are open, no industries are there. Families aren't sure whether to move back and rebuild their homes or whether to move on at this point. And as hopeless as that sounds, we weren't completely without hope. In Tuscaloosa, we started this campaign for tornado recovery. Our community completely came together in amazing resiliency that's so beloved in the South. And we learned a lot and we questioned a lot. In that questioning, there was a lot of talk about, could this be climate change? Is this climate change? How do we know? And the truth is that we're not sure, because nobody can ever be sure. But ultimately, we knew that we didn't want to risk it happening again to us. And for example, I was talking to a maintenance worker outside my building one day, just making small talk, commenting on how nice the weather was. And he said, yeah, it's nice that it's 80 degrees in February, but if this warm weather keeps up, does that mean we're going to have another bad spring again? And so this problem affected everyone. It wasn't just the liberal elite or the highly educated or people who think about climate change every day. It was integrated into our lives in a very real and deep way. And the way that manifested in our community, I think, is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. We had a grassroots movement called Tuscaloosa Forward, which became our official city plan for redevelopment. It's incredibly complicated. It includes development in schools and parks and all kinds of things. But ultimately, it means that we want sustainable living. We want greenways, public transportation, better walkable neighborhoods, the works. And this is in a red state, so it isn't unique to blue states or places that are thought of as concerned with the environment. It's something that's truly there for everyone. And as we rebuild, communities are taking for themselves the pride that is needed to rebuild, help themselves, and do it right. We want a sustainable world. And we see what's happening with Hurricane Sandy and what's happened to our neighbors in the north, and we feel so deeply for them because we've experienced some of that ourselves. And every disaster is different, but we can say that we definitely think that it gets better and good will come of it eventually. And we just hope that these extreme weather events will be recognized not as disjointed, but as a connected community awakening to the reality of climate change, and that we can now wonder what we're going to do to combat it rather than sit and wait for it to happen.